Hello viewers, this is Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot, and I'm here to read for you today. It's Sunday morning in Australia, and I'm getting ready. I'm back from my trip on Friday, and I had a restful day yesterday, and I'm getting ready to go out and about today. But before I'm actually going to an apple festival, and they've got a bake-off, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to buy a homemade apple pie. Now, before I get started, I just want to give a shout out to the Lighthouse medium, or the Lighthouse, Mary Widener from Lighthouse. Let me just look her up now. She's emailed me, and she's the Lighthouse, Mary Widener over at the Lighthouse. Now, she's emailed me and asked if I could give a shout out. She's got to save the date and share the date on July the 16th for a day of prayer for peace. So I'll put the link in underneath this video if you want to head over. If you're one that actually would like to participate, then there's an opportunity there for you to do so. So that's the Lighthouse. Mary Widener will be holding a day of prayer or a prayer vigil for world peace. So, okay, now I wanted to actually read today. I saw a press conference where Donald Trump was talking about a phone call that he had with Putin, and they discussed the Mueller report. And no, they didn't discuss election interference, etc., etc. Now, this is just Trump's vindictiveness. He feels that he has had a win with Barr, and the way that the Mueller report has been virtually the findings of the Mueller report, it's almost like we live in the upside down world again. So things have switched so that we're in the upside down world again, where we can't make sense out of what is happening. And it's almost unbelievable. It's disbelievable. Now, I guess what we've got to remember is this is all a strategy of Donald Trump's. He understands this only too well, and it's born out of this vindictive way that he's lived his life and treated his enemies. So anyone who isn't loyal to him is an enemy. He's also flexing his muscles with the Republican Party as well on tariffs, and locking horns with Grassley. So he's really buoyed by what he really does in his twisted head, considers an exoneration, and of course it's not that. And he knows that, but he feels like he's winning the battle. Now, there is a danger, of course, here that, will he win the battle? So I've always seen Trump walking away before 2020, and I actually did a reading last night for myself because I was thinking, well, hey, what if? And it still showed the same thing. So I thought, well, I'll get on here this morning and have a read for you. We'll throw the cards, we'll use some clarifiers, and we'll see if we can find out exactly what's occurring. So the question is if. And this is if, and I've said I've always seen him walking away, but everybody has free will, and situations can change, and there's a lot of play here. But let's just say if Donald Trump got to 2020 and he contested the election in 2020, would he win? So let's just center ourselves. Okay, so I'm getting straight away an image of the Hierophant, which is the government. So that is almost the strength in the government, strength in the courts. That's the way I interpret that. I didn't see the Emperor, I saw the Hierophant. Okay, will Donald Trump, if Donald Trump contested the 2020 election, would he win? Donald Trump, would he win the election 2020? Donald Trump, would he win the election in 2020? Okay, so This is the same card that came up last night. It's the Five of Swords. I'm using the Spellcaster Tarot as well. It's that lovely one where it represents everyone. Everyone, not just one race, or it's everyone's represented here. So we've got the Five of Swords, meaning that there is an abuse of power currently going on at the moment. Well, no, I won't get facetious. We understand that. And I did make the point the other day when I read is that things won't change until enough people want the truth, until, the critical mass is reached and enough people are really demanding that he either steps down or he be impeached. Now, I looked at some polls for what they're worth on, whether people think that the Democrats should impeach Donald Trump. It's only around 34, 35% at this point in time. So I feel that given that impeachment, will be, almost a political battle as well, I feel that the strategy of the Democrats is to wait until they've got every bit of information they can, until they can throw that out before the American public and say, okay, what do you want? Do you really want someone like this to stay? Or not. And that's why Donald Trump is fighting this on a political, it's a political battle that he's really trying to bring in over the top of the law. So he's not acknowledging that there's no wrongdoing, that just, he wasn't charged or indicted because he was a sitting president. That's really the only reason why he wasn't indicted. Okay, so we've got an abuse of power. Just bring the laptop down. This is what he's doing at the moment. Okay, what is he challenged by? New starts. Okay, we've got the Ace of Pentacles here. So this is a new job. This is new starts. This is basically giving someone else the job that he's got. This is a challenge to him. Is it Joe Biden? Is it Beto O'Rourke? Is it Kamala Harris? Is it, any one of those fantastic Democrat candidates who are actually fighting him in the Senate, in the House, and on the campaign trail? As you know, Biden's held a couple of rallies already. They're threatening him right at this very time. When someone is... when you've got a corrupt boss, for example, unless someone else takes that boss on, that boss is not going to be held accountable. So, Donald Trump is using the presidential office here, and he is abusing that power. Now, the Queen of Wands is interesting because the Queen of Wands is... it comes up a lot in these readings, and this is around using your intuition, and I'm glad that this card came forward. It, before the midterms, represented the number of women that were going to be coming forward, which of course they did, and the number of young people that were going to come forward and for accountability, which of course they did. We know that that was the result in the midterms, and I do feel this is going to be the result in other elections around the world as well. But it's also the other meaning of this card, and this is the foundation of the reading. It's asking you to use your gut feelings, your inner knowings. So to really, we're being bombarded by so much information, whether that be via the media or whatever we're watching on YouTube. It's just bombarding us, and I feel that it's easy to get sidetracked and pulled off what you think or what you hope will happen, and then your thoughts descend into almost despair and distress. I do feel that aside from everything else, this is around using your intuition as well. So not even just relying on this reading, but to use your own intuition. Now, what we've got in the past here, we've got the Ten of Cups, and this is the family card. I guess this is the voters, and he is abusing his power in order to influence the most voters. This is a 2020 game that he's playing at the moment, and that's the upside down world that I was talking about at the beginning of the election, at the beginning of the reading. So it's like the norms and everything are turned upside down and we are left in disbelief. And then what happens then? When you're in the upside down world, what happens is you start to go, oh, well, maybe it's not as bad as I think, or well, they had, Barr didn't break the law yet, or nobody said that William Barr's broken the law yet. Donald Trump's still in power. Nobody's come and put him in handcuffs. I won't vote for him, but so it sows doubt. I'm being not sarcastic, facetious. I'm trying to illustrate that if you actually thought Donald Trump was doing okay on the economy, and if you could accept that that Mueller found there was no collusion, which of course that's not the case. There were plenty of examples of collusion. He just couldn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt conspiracy, and largely because evidence had been destroyed. So, but if you were of another persuasion, if you were sort of, jury's out a bit, you would start to think, well, he's done really well on the economy. Maybe this is just whatever. This is the game that he's playing, okay? And even calling Putin like that was just a straight out play for his base. So it's a political game. The question is, are you going to be caught up in the political game? Now, what is in the sky? What is the potential of the present situation? We've got the hangman. Now, the hangman comes across for Donald Trump all the time, or did just before the Mueller report was released. If you recall, that's interesting. I'll talk about that in a minute. This, the cards that are coming up all the time. So the hangman's here for Donald Trump again. So what is that talking about? It is... it's talking really in this deck that he's going to be mummified. Now, when I say that, if you look at this is above the abuse of power. So I'm thinking that Donald Trump is neither moving forward nor back. Well, he could be moving back. He certainly isn't moving forward, and he's also being contained, if you like. So even though we think he's not, there is a containment there for him. Now, what we've got coming up in the immediate future, this card always worries me a little bit. It's the Nine of Pentacles, which is really around the luxury, self-government. So it could be that in the immediate future there's this perception that the moneyed interests in politics, of which this is really what is at the root of all of this. It's the money in politics, and particularly, and I'm not saying all parties are innocent of this, but with the Republicans, it's really on show. All of the wealth is on show. Now, I heard something this morning where Trump and those that support him are being backed by the moneyed interests in the USA and potentially across the world. So I think that we shouldn't lose sight of that. I feel that, when you've got the weight of those moneyed interests bearing down, money corrupts, money talks. So at the moment, the situation that we've got in front of us at the moment is that there are secrets being hidden. There's a burying of the truth. The Moon card, of course, came up at the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency all the time, and we often said secrets, coming out, emerging, illumination being, is needing to occur. Now, the atmosphere around, it is hard work. Okay, so these cards are giving us a fairly accurate position of what is occurring at the moment. We've got an abuse of power. We've got a political game being played to win votes in 2020. We've got seemingly the moneyed interests moving ahead. We've still got the same secrets being buried, and it's hard work to uncover those secrets. However, the foundation of the reading is this. And in the past, we have the voters. Now, what occurred in the midterms? These cards came up all the time. And at the time, I was interpreting that as mum, dad, and a couple of kids living in the suburbs, wanting Donald Trump to be accountable. And I feel that there is this aspect again. I also feel that there is a strong feminine energy that has emerged in the past and will continue to take on Donald Trump. And of course, I don't need to mention the women senators. I don't need to mention the women candidates. But not just that. This is a card that came forward for the Democrats in the around the midterms. So we've got that as the foundation of the reading. Okay, now let's have a look at the hopes and the fears. I'm pulling from the wrong card. Funnily enough, from the wrong deck, for my clarifier deck, I pulled the devil in the hopes and fears. Okay, hopes and fears position, the Seven of Pentacles. This is actually reevaluating and you come in before the harvest is due, and the harvest may not be as prolific as you think, or as bountiful as you think, and you start to go, well, I need to water this a bit more, or I need to reevaluate my what I'm doing so that I can reach my goals. And I do feel that this is really, it's in the hopes and the fears position. But it's also a card that's challenging us as well. If Donald Trump has succeeded at this point in time in abusing his power, and we're living in that upside down world, what else do we need to do to make sure that we achieve our goals? Now, the outcome at this point in time, we asked if he was going to win in 2020. And we've got the Five of Wands. Now, this is the faction fighting. This is obstacles and challenges. So it's not enough to give me an answer there. But I can tell you, viewers, it's not the Sun. It's not the Sun. It's not the Six of Wands. It is the Five of Cups, Five of Wands, which is suggesting that it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight. Interesting. And we've got retreat here. We've got somebody being wounded. So this is what's happening at the moment. And I'll say something on that shortly. We've got the battling here, and we've got someone being wounded, or the battling in order to wound someone. And we've got the Knight of Cups. That's interesting. I looked at this card again this morning because I had a feeling there are certain cards which are coming up a lot, and this is one of them. And the Knight of Cups is passionate and driven. And there's also a recklessness about the passion. It can be a victory card as well. It can be also an offer. It can be a triumphant offer of something as well. So what we've got here, and I'm going to draw some clarifiers and we'll look at what's hidden from us. We've got the fighting, the battle, if you like, and the constant obstruction and obfuscation. We've got all of that happening now in the Congress. It seems the battle is being waged in the Congress. Imagine for a minute if the Democrats hadn't taken the House in the midterm. Oh, my God. Okay, so we've got that happening at the moment. We've got someone being wounded. This is also a card that comes up when someone's really has to, step down. And then we've got almost a triumphant outcome here. Now, what's hidden from our view is the Nine of Swords, and really that's our worry here. So this is a reminder from Spirit. This is, what we're feeling at this point in time. It's sleepless nights. It's being kept up at night. Now I'm going to ask for some clarification on the Knight of Cups, and I'm going to move to my Lo Scarabeo Tarot Deluxe deck. The Knight of Cups. Okay, is this... can I have some clarification, please, on the Knight of Cups? It's generally a romantic offer. You wouldn't believe it, would you? It's the same card in the... This just fell out. It's the same card. The Knight of Cups has come up again in the Lo Scarabeo deck. So there's a message, a really strong message around the Knight of Cups. A really strong message. Let's have a look. The Knight of Cups. Some kind of romantic proposal. Now we've got the Page of Wands. Now this is a messenger card which is suggesting some kind of news here coming forward. So we're talking about retreat. So now I'm going to ask news coming forward and okay. So we've got a waiting for results here. I feel this is where we are at this point in time. But we've also got a Six of Pentacles. Loans and debts, waiting for results. Loans and debts. Okay. What's hidden from our view? I think I'm getting the narrative here. Is the card of hope and keeping your thoughts positive, but also the intention. The intention behind the hope is the thing that creates the momentum for us to go forward. I feel what this reading is saying is that we're going to get some news, and I'll read on this. I'll pack away these and we'll do another reading. The Knight of Cups seems to be the significant card. Generally in its traditional meaning, it's talking about a romance. It's a romantic proposition. But that's its literal definition. But this is somebody that comes forward, potentially with an offer, with news, big news of some description, with passion and sometimes with force. So we can see that I feel this is the work that is going on at the moment by the Congress in all those investigations. Adam Schiff's committee is investigating Donald Trump's money ties. Letitia James, of course, is doing something similar and is now trying to get those records from Deutsche Bank. Donald Trump might try and stall all he likes, but I'm feeling that this Knight of Cups has a message for us. Now, remembering too that tarot, there is an immediacy to tarot. I'm not saying that it can't predict in the long term. It's just that it tells you a layered story of what it gives you insights on what might be occurring at the moment. And I do feel that this is very important for us to think about. The Knight of Cups came up twice, suggesting that there is some kind of news coming forward, and it's going to be hard fought for. That's why you get the passion of the cups here. It's going to be hard fought. There is suggesting a little bit of a wait for it to come through, and we've got the information on loans and debts, the Six of Pentacles, potentially Donald Trump's money trail. So I feel that at this point in time, this tarot reading is telling us that there are those people who are continuing to work to uncover that information. Will Donald Trump, who's absolutely abusing his power, he's playing a 2020 game. I didn't see the sun there. So I feel that we can only go as far as what this narrative is currently indicating to us, and that's indicating that there's going to be some news. Well, my impressions are there's going to be some further information coming forward through the hard work of that Queen of Wands there, that will have a bearing on this situation as to whether he will stand in 2020. So let's have a look at, we got other things coming out because we've got such a way to go. Donald Trump this may be just a temporary victory for him. There's lots more to come, is my feeling, and I've I woke up with the feeling this morning that we're in a situation where it's almost like anything can happen. It's almost like we'll switch on our computer or turn on our television and there's going to be some breaking news there, and it's going to be some kind of information that's coming forward. The other cards, I wanted to just briefly talk about the cards that keep coming up, and if you were quite a serious student of tarot, you would start to see the patterns, and you would start to be able to put the various cards, you would be able to link them with the actual political situations as they occurred. Donald Trump has evolved since 2016. 2017. He started off as the smug merchant when he won power. He then morphed into the King of Pentacles. As we know, he started to mix the business with the presidency, and now he's coming forward as the Emperor card, which is the autocrat. Now, along with that, we're seeing the Five of Swords more and more often. At one point before the Mueller report was released, we saw the Hanged Man, meaning he was hamstrung, he was neither, progressing, and that card came up again. So I guess that's the counsel here, that he might, how dare he get on the phone and discuss the Mueller report with the person with Russia who interfered with the election, including tampering with voting systems, let's just call it that. And there's more on that to come, I think. How dare he? How dare he? We're living in this upside down world again. But he got the Hanged Man again this morning, okay? So I don't feel that his presidency is really accomplishing much at all. So let's have a look at whether or not we can expect some more news to come down that will be, detrimental to Donald Trump. So this information on now, there's a couple of things. Amy Klobuchar has written to, on the suggestion of William Barr, has written to him, Mueller, asking if Mueller had any access to Donald Trump's financial records. Now we've got Letitia James going after the Deutsche Bank records. We've also got this mysterious ongoing investigation on, I think, a financial institution being heard by the Mueller grand jury. Remember, that went to the Supreme Court, and Justice Roberts said, yes, they are in contempt. Where's that up to? Is there any, really, Trump's looking quite vindictive, and it just is venting his spleen. It allows him to feel good when he can hold a press conference and say, I just spoke to Vladimir Putin for an hour about the Mueller report. Okay, you see what he's trying to do? All right, but in the reality, he's in a Tower card moment. So let's have a look. Is there news at any one of these investigations matters, whatever the House is doing, any of these investigations, whether they be in New York or DC or by the grand jury, Mueller's ongoing work, the House and under Adam Schiff, and Maxine Waters, Jerry Nadler, all of those. Senator Harris hasn't finished with William Barr either. So she's put that complaint there as well. And I'll include a question there before I wind this reading up. So can we expect more news coming out regarding Donald Trump's loans and debts? Any money issues connected with the Trump Organization and Donald Trump? Can we expect news in the coming weeks, month? Because I feel June's important in relation to Donald Trump's financial dealings, loans and debts, Russia, foreign countries, election interference, ongoing investigations, what's in store for Trump. All right, the Two of Cups is talking about the partnerships, the collaborations, etc., suggesting that this is talking about Trump and Russia. At this point in time, that's what I'm gleaning from the signifier card. What's crossing? Yes, what's crossing that is the Queen of Swords. This came up in my reading last night, suggesting that there are plans potentially. This is someone who's very, very strong. Very strong, comes in and restores some kind of clarity. Now that's crossing this card of Donald Trump and his collaborations. Right, we've got strength and endurance as the foundation of the reading. In the past, we have the Five of Swords, which is Trump's abuse of power. In the sky, we've got the Ten of Cups. Now, again, the family card. There's also, that with the Ten of Cups, this is, it's got a transparency about this card, where everything is fine, everything's okay. But when it's reversed, it can suggest potentially some kind of cover up. But this is also the voter. This is now emerging as the card for America. In the immediate future, we've got the Hanged Man again. Okay, so this is a stalling of something in the immediate future. So we did pull that Two of Wands, so I feel this is not an immediate breaking news that's likely to come forward. Now, at this point in time, we have the King of Cups. Now, the King of Cups generally is a supportive person. This is a benign parent. However, when the King of Cups is inverted, we have the absolute opposite. This card comes forward as my William Barr card, but William Barr is the inverted king. And, of course, in his duplicity, he can appear this way, which is why he has been so hard to read. Now, that's at this present time. Okay, the atmosphere around, or the environment around this, is obscuring the view. This is illusions and delusions. This is obscuring the choice. And I feel this is what this whole Barr strategy, Trump Barr strategy, Republican Trump strategy has been about, is to obscure the truth here. Hopes and fears. Of course, we're hoping for the truth to come forward. Now, this someone remarked the other day, this is a page, which is somebody who's reasonably young, reasonably a little bit green around the gills. But look at the size of the sword that this page is wielding. That's in our hopes and fears position. Now, we've got the Six of Wands here. We've got the Victory card. Now, I asked, was there some kind of bombshell news likely to come forward? And this is a yes card. The Six of Wands is just one of those cards in the tarot that actually says yes, victory. Okay, but I'm feeling that, there's Two of Wands. I'm feeling that there's actually going to be a little bit of a wait for it, which came up in the last reading. And here we have the Sun. I'm glad the Sun emerged in this reading, because this is talking about illumination, and I do feel it's sitting over the Page of Swords, and I feel like this is an illumination of the truth. Now, what's hidden from our view is the Six of Pentacles, which is, in this deck, is the same as this in our last reading. This is around the loans and debts. This is the money trail. So what we've got here, viewers, what we've got here is, for me, these are really the summary of the reading. It's actually going to come out through the good work of, this isn't just females though, this is actually the investigations. Notice that Mueller is less appearing in this narrative, but he's done his work. He's laid the foundations. I feel that this is his investigations proceeding. Now, what we've got here, We've got a yes card. We've got a victory card. Something else is going to come out on Donald Trump. It's a financial aspect here. We're going to have to wait a little while for it. It will be illuminating, and it is around the money. So the fight that's currently going on to get that information out, Donald Trump hasn't won, if you like, not won at all. The fight continues. It's a difficult and a hard fight, and it's likely that these efforts that are being made by the senators, by the House, by the committees, and by the investigators, in other states, and including in the ongoing investigations that Mueller probably is still relatively involved in some way, are actually going to yield some kind of information to do with Donald Trump's money, to do with the loans, who he is in debt to. Now, let's just think for a minute. If it was proven that Donald Trump had considerable debt with the Russians, what would happen then? Is that enough for impeachment? Shall we ask? Let's give it another shuffle. Will the information coming out prove that Donald Trump has financial debts to the Russians? Will the information to emerge prove that Donald Trump is in financial debt to the Russians? Yes, no. Will it prove that Donald Trump is in financial debt to the Russians? It's certainly something that there is anxiety over. Who's got the anxiety over that? I would suggest it would be Trump and the Republicans, wouldn't it? Okay, the Seven of Wands, they're certainly defending, they're standing their ground. Then this is around his tax returns, and it's around the monetary information. Of course, the Trump organisation, Trump Children, they're suing to stop that information coming out. This is where Trump's vulnerability is. And we've got the Sun, yes. It's around his, I keep being drawn to this card. It's who gave what who, but it's also, I'm feeling, who Donald Trump is in debt to. Wow. That's the big information that our knight's trying to get. Okay, that's the information that's keeping Donald Trump up at night. Woohoo. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. The Two of Pentacles, juggling, manipulation. Look at this card. This is around, look at the ships in the background. This person here is manipulating a situation, standing his ground, and at the same time manipulating. This is where the action is. This is what it's all about. This is the Hangman coming forward here again. Donald Trump being stalled, not able to do anything, and it's directly underneath the Sun. Oh my goodness! And what's on the bottom here is our Six of Pentacles again. Coming up, and you saw me shuffle those cards. Okay, I was going to ask if Bill Barr will resign, because I think that's the next thing that's going to happen, but I won't. I'll leave that for another reading, because this is enough now. Basically, I won't go over the reading again, but I'm feeling this Knight of Cups is coming up for a reason, and it's important, and the Six of Pentacles is coming up for a reason. So I'm feeling that the main game for Donald Trump is to, under no circumstances should people get hold of his tax returns or any financial information, who he owes money to, who he is in debt to. That's where the action is. That's what he's trying to stop. So it's really critical now for the House those investigations to play out, and it's really critical for the American public, those that want to see this president removed, to keep up the activism and to keep again. Calling their senators because this is a really difficult situation. And remember, what Trump is trying to do is trying to sow that seed of doubt. But the reality is that he is incredibly worried and anxious still. Now, I do feel that Barr will actually, we've got Kamala Harris putting in that complaint. I do feel that in the future Barr will step down, but we'll do another reading on that. He will resign. There is information to come out on who Trump is in debt to, and I do feel we're going to have to wait for that a little bit. But I'm feeling that keep your eye on June. It could even be in May when Mueller comes to the stand. It could even be Amy Klobuchar's request to Mueller. Did Mueller have access to Trump's financials? Interesting. It could be any one of these investigations that are still underway. Expect news to come forward in the future is what this tarot card reading is saying. And it's news that Donald Trump won't like. All right, I'll leave it there, viewers, and I'll talk to you again soon. Happy weekend. Try not to worry. This is just grist for the mill. All right. And, the future, is not written yet, but these cards, my impressions are that eventually Trump will trip himself up by the sheer weight of his past dealings, which no one can wave a magic wand with this amount of investigation and have that disappear. So he won't be able to hold that back. So thank you again for your support, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.